Hello, everyone, and welcome to audio journal number 3, the place where you get to know the face behind the bass. My name is Boaz, and I'm excited to talk about a lot of different things with you today. I want to start out with a few updates about my musical activities. Just earlier this week, I released my latest performance video that has me in a duet setting with my upright and my 6-string electric bass playing a tune I wrote called 101 Blues. It's a fun song that pays tribute to something that gives me the blues just about every day, and that is the 101 freeway, which is the road I drive back and forth to work on my commute. So it seemed like a good fit for the blues. You can find that on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, any of those places. Check it out and let me know what you think. I also did a great recording session this past Sunday for my good friend, vocalist and pianist Amanda Adelman, and it came out great. I'm excited to share some of that music with you in the near future. I played upright on all those tracks, and it was a great group and lots of interesting songs that Amanda has both written and arranged. And if you're in the Bay Area this weekend, you can check out her CD release concert. I'll be there hanging out. That's Saturday night, the 18th at the California Jazz Conservatory at 8 o'clock, and I'll be hanging out. So if you want to come down and say hi, I would love to meet you. And lastly, I did a fantastic live stream this past Saturday. So fun to get up there and play the music that I want to play and have so many people from around the world show up, listen to the music, say hi, and interact. It's so cool. I'm going to be doing my next live stream on Facebook next Saturday, the 18th at about 1:30. So please log in, check out the music, and say hi. It's a great time where between songs I can talk to people and see what's going on. So my main topic that I wanted to talk about this week was the issue of balance. And I think that's an important thing that we all struggle with in life here and there. I know as a musician, a lot of us may struggle between our artistic pursuits, our family commitments, a lot of us have day jobs, and maybe even other interests that we have in life. Balancing things out so that you find time to grow as a human being and be with the people you love and take care of your financial commitments and anything else can really go up and down. And I know that is a thing that drives people crazy in music and out. So it's something that I have really had to work hard on to find in a place in my life. So I want to just kind of throw out some of the things that I balance and how I do that. And I'm hoping that some of you can send me some feedback and tell me about balance in your life, because I think that we can all use some strategies to make this happen. For me, balance is really a matter of priorities and what you are going to prioritize at different times in your life. I find my time is really spread between 3 main priorities in my life. The most important thing that always takes priority is my family. There's nothing more important to me than my wife and kids, and that's always going to be top priority. I'm always happy to carve time out to spend with them, to maybe put other things aside so we can do things together as a family. It's a huge part of who I am as a human being, and it's been a defining factor in my development. Now, my second priority would really be my music and my art. but it's often at conflict with this other thing that is also one of my priorities, and that is my day gig, my teaching job. Now, this is very important to our life because my teaching job provides most of the financial stability to my family. So I really have to make that a top priority and put a lot of time to it. I know I need to spend a defined amount of time at work every day. And I work really hard to keep that time confined. Now, in all fairness, I have been in that job for the better part of 2 decades, and I've become pretty efficient at getting the things done that I need to get done during the time that I am at my job. It wasn't always like that. I'll be really honest. In my first several years of teaching, it seemed like a much bigger commitment than it is now. But for the most part, I can schedule things out. I am at work from a certain amount of time during the day. I can get things done that I need to get done, and then I can come home and dedicate the rest of the time to my family and my music. As a music teacher, I do end up being at school sometimes at night, sometimes on the weekend for performances with my students and other sorts of commitments, but that's okay. If I schedule it out, I can really work around it and figure things out. Now, when I get home, again, first, family, that's top priority. From there, the rest of that time, I really dedicate to my bass and my music creation and my music career. This can be hard sometimes because, yes, I have other interests too. There are other things I like to do, I like to relax with, but I'm going to be perfectly honest. To me, there's nothing that gives me more joy in something that I do myself than making music. And the second I pick up my bass, I am so happy that I am doing that it's pretty easy to take that leftover time and use it. At the same time, I do have to be very protective of that time. If I know that I've got time to practice my instrument, to record music, to write music, to study, to work with other musicians, I really have to make sure that other things don't come in and take that time away from me. I also have to make sure that I use that time pretty wisely. I am pretty good about really planning out my practice time in terms of the things that I need to work on, my recording schedule in terms of music that I need to know and get done. If I'm doing a lot of gigs, there's that piece where I know I've got to learn a certain amount of music and apply it. So I'm pretty good about figuring that all out and making sure the time that I have with my instrument is time well spent. So I feel satisfied that I'm growing, I'm performing, and I'm reaching the artistic goals that I set for myself. We all have to be honest. I should say this just for myself. I know that I work really hard to provide that balance, and as long as that goes, I am okay with that. But I do have to realize that sometimes things are out of our control and balance gets out of whack. I think that's a matter of letting go, rolling with it, and really kind of course correcting and think about how am I going to get things back on track. In reality, at the end of the day, it's kind of about going with the flow of life. Some days are easier to balance than others, but not really getting on yourself too much and feeling good about the progress you make and the balance you make, I have found is really important. When I beat myself up over those things, it gets harder and harder and harder to maintain balance. It's got to be something that you can live with and something that you can be happy with. I am happy to say I feel at a balanced point in my life, and I'm working really hard to keep that going. But it's constant struggle. So I would really love to know from you, what do you do to keep balance in your life? What are your priorities? And what can I learn from you about making sure that you feel good about all the things you're doing in your life and you're moving forward and you're living with balance? Please send me a message, email, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, and let me know. I'd love to share some tips with everyone on the next audio journal. So send your thoughts my way. Last week, I started a new part of the audio journal called Question of the Week that I thought was really fun. It was a chance for me every week to answer a question and maybe share a little bit of myself that's not all focused on the base. And I was hoping that people could send me some response so I could share them too. Last week, my question was, if you could invite anyone, what 3 people would you have over for dinner? Personally, I said I'd like to have Mark Hamill, Chick Corea, and Jim Henson. I talked about why I'd want to have each one of those people last week. And I got a great response from my good friend on Instagram, fclef69, who is the bassist for a great progressive metal band called Flooded Tomb, Tomb. I would really check them out. There's some awesome bass work on there, and it's some really cool heavy stuff. You can find them on Spotify or any of the streaming music services. But he let me know that his 3 people that he would invite over for a dinner party were Barack Obama, Ludwig van Beethoven, and his mother. That sounds like a really sweet dinner party, to have the wisdom of Barack Obama, just to be in that presence. That would be pretty amazing. To be in the genius of Beethoven, and then be in, I'm sure, the wisdom and care of his mother would be pretty amazing. Thanks for letting me know. And that really got me thinking about what a fun night that would be. Now, the question for this week is, if you were to tell your life story, how would you share that with the world? Strangely enough, this is something I have thought about a lot. And I know exactly how I would want to share my life story with the world. Of course, it would be in an animated long-form television series. And I'm not talking like all that ridiculous CGI that they're doing today. I'm talking old school Scooby-Doo style animation. And I want it to be a long-form show where each week you get a little bit more of the story, but you're left with a cliffhanger for the next week. I don't know if, speaking of Scooby-Doo, I don't know if any of you has seen the one series they did called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Awesome! Like maybe one of the best animated long-form shows you can ever find. Check it out. That's how I would want to tell my life story. I've always wanted to be a cartoon. I mean, those of us who grew up in the 80s, Saturday morning cartoons, wouldn't you want to be a part of that? I can picture myself as a child. I can picture myself holding a bass on the cartoons. If any of you ever used to watch the Brady Bunch cartoon, they'd have these little musical segments that would come up in every little bit. That would be me. I'd have these little musical segments in the show. It would be so cool. If there are any potential animators out there that want to work with me on this, oh my God, this would be the best thing ever. Maybe I'm getting a little too excited about this, but I think it would be so much fun. Now, I want to know what you would do. If you were going to tell your life story, how would you do it? Would it be a movie? Who would play you? Would it be a podcast? Would it be a video series on YouTube? Would it be a book? Would it be an audiobook? Would it be a comic book? Oh, so many cool options. I want to know how you're going to tell your life story. Send me an email, send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Let me know. It's such a fun idea to toy with. I got to hear about yours, and I'll share it next week on the Audio Journal. This thing's growing every week, and I thought it would be fun to add another segment that I'm going to call Inspiring Person of the Week. I was going to call it Musician of the Week because my mind often goes to musicians first, but there's lots of people in the world and we find lots of inspiration from all over the place. So I'm going to call this segment Inspiring Person of the Week, where I'm going to talk about someone who has given me some inspiration over the past week. And lo and behold, this week it was a musician, and that is the late drummer Neil Peart from the great rock band Rush. Neil passed away this past week from a long struggle with brain cancer, and it was really a loss to the music community as a whole. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I am more of a jazz guy these days, and I don't listen to a whole lot of rock, but I grew up in the 80s and I listened to a whole lot of rock at that time. Rush was all over the radio. I got to go see Rush live once, and they played a big impact on just the sound and culture of the time. I spent a few moments going back and listening to Rush after I heard about Neil's passing, because it did affect me. And boy, that is some amazing music. A trio setting bass, guitar, and drums, with vocals and keyboards sometimes from Geddy Lee taking all over those roles. But the three of them really sending out such deep and powerhouse music, really important stuff. And Neil, sitting at the core of that, really seemed like such a grounding and inspirational force. I didn't realize all those years listening to the music that Neil was also a huge lyricist for the band. So he wrote a lot of those words to his songs, and I thought that was really cool. He's actually written a couple of novels as well that used his gift for words. That really inspired me as someone who really loves to write, as to the possibilities to mix ideas about music and the written word and the whole thing. So, Neil, thank you for all of the music you gave us. You've given me a lot of inspiration this past week and long before that. And I'm actually going to add Rush into my regular listening routine now. And I'm plotting out learning some of Geddy's lines and the whole deal right there. So thank you for all the years. You will be missed, but your legacy lives on. Thank you for the inspiration. It's been a great conversation, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you have ideas for future topics for the Audio Journal, please send them my way. You can send me a message at chip@chipboazmusic.com. You can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or any of the places. Let me know what you think it would be fun to hear me talk about. If you want to respond to the question of the week, or let me know who you have been inspired by recently, I would love to hear it. So thanks, everyone. I look forward to hanging out with you again next week. Until then, enjoy the music.